Hi all, welcome to the Children's Day talk show by 10 TV and Scientific TV. As you know, today is the 127th birth anniversary of Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, our first Prime Minister, who had this amazing vision of building the nation through science and through institutions. Today, we talk of India being an intellectual powerhouse of the world through our army of doctors, engineers, scientists. But probably that has been possible only because we believed in our institutions and we believed in nurturing intellectuals. So we thought on this occasion of Children's Day, how about understanding your views, the next generation's views on what is scientific temperament and why scientific temperament is extremely essential in today's society. So I would like to start out the discussion by asking you guys a very fundamental question. What do you think is scientific temperament and why do you think that is very important in the Indian society? If somebody may want to answer. Yeah, go ahead.
Scientific temper is actually a way of life. It's not just applying science in research labs and institutions. It's a way of life. You do not take everything at face value. You ask questions, you postulate hypotheses, and then you gather information.
And also you want to go against other people's experiments to prove them wrong or prove them right.
I have a question for you. When you said you have to sort of test whether a hypothesis is right or not. For example, what about things that only occur once? Like for example, if you're trying to test a theory of society.
You would use past experiments that people have used in the past, or you get data from the past, or if you want future experiments, you would have to continue them and you would probably have your children or somebody continue them for you.
These are probably long-term projects like astronomy, when you're talking of comets maybe. Yeah. Okay, that's a great point by Pradeep.
You were saying like how could we say that there's an image or thing? Like we need to have certain amount of belief in our scientists, in our astronomers to actually believe that they've got the photo.
Okay,
of
but
the image.
but in science you should also question this at times.
Yeah.
So how do you think you can find out?
Yeah, so we actually they show the launches of the rockets or the satellites, so we have to believe that they're getting the proper
I think
images.
you have a great point here. You say science is very transparent. They actually show you
all
of their
you need certain
evidence.
amount of
And
belief.
If you ask them questions, they're willing to show you some evidence to back up whatever they're speaking. That's the beautiful part about science. Yeah.
There are very many great theories that cannot be tested directly. What we have to do is we have to compute the consequences of those theories and then test them. However, sometimes we might predict a consequence that could also be the consequence of another theory. I'll give you a small example. Let's take Newton's laws of gravitation and Albert Einstein's theory of general relativity. They both predict that if you drop an apple, it should fall on the ground.
Let me actually break it down into a smaller question. If I have two theories which are explaining the same phenomena equally well, so which theory would you pick? Yeah.
We could take the latest theory, sir. Like as first, we can take example of an atom, sir. First, J.J. Thomson discovered that atom has a positive sphere and electrons built into it. After that, there was other scientists who said the same thing in another way.
But his question is, if two theories explain something equally well, which one would you pick? Because it turns out J.J. Thomson's theory doesn't work. Let him go ahead, yeah.
I think we'll pick the theory which has various applications and which is accurate.
Okay, let's say we have two theories which explain a lot of phenomena. Which one would you pick?
Yeah, the
latest one, because
Why latest one?
is upgrade of the previous.
No, but both of them are predicting the events well, right? Why would you want to pick the latest one? Because maybe the latest one is inaccurate.
I'll think that the majority of people I'll believe.
You think we can believe the majority?
For example, maybe I think 400 years ago, everyone believed that all the planets, all the celestial bodies revolved around the Earth. Okay,
I think
that's
a brilliant example. We
the
need not believe in the majority. We're not saying we shouldn't. We're saying we need not. We need to believe in what the experiments are, pointing us to.
We should choose the one which has less variables, because if there's too many variables, it's most likely that one of those variables could go wrong. So whichever one has more variables or more solid evidence that it happened.
So what you're suggesting is
We have a lot of parsimony principles in philosophy of science. If I have multiple theories which are working, which theory do I pick? That is called a parsimony principle. Yeah, go ahead, explain it.
Okay, so basically what Occam's razor suggests that whichever theory has the least number of assumptions or the least number of variables, you should select that theory, simply because that theory has a higher possibility of being proven correct, simply because less assumptions can be proved wrong.
Or rather, it's the other way around, as how Pradeep has pointed. It has lesser chance of going wrong because you have fewer variables to worry about. If you have more variables, even if one, it's like, I'm building a defense mechanism. It's easier to guard 5 people versus
Guarding 100.
10 people.
I think the main problem with Occam's razor is, in reality, when we look at nature, there could be a lot more variables than what we see. Science
Correct.
is simply a simplification of,
Correct.
of nature, our attempt to understand it.
Correct.
But when you really look at nature, there could be so many variables, and the theory with more variables could become correct.
Correct. And do you think we have to pick a theory?
No,
Why not?
no, because
Can you give an example of 2 parallel theories which are in existence?
The theory of general relativity and quantum mechanics.
Okay.
Those 2 parallel theories, there's a bit of a debate going on about which is correct.
Correct.
So there's really an attempt to unify them into one theory, and that would be probably the grand
That's called
unified
grand
theory,
unification
grand
in physics.
unification of
The Young-Mills
physics.
problem.
Yeah.
Another example is Darwinism and Lamarckism.
Correct. It's not a conflict anymore, but once upon a time it
once
was
upon
a
a- it
brilliant
was.
example. Yeah. Any other examples? Maybe Big Bang theory and steady state theory. Once upon a time there were parallel
Yes.
theories which were explaining.
And then we saw another consequence of the Big Bang theory, that was cosmic background radiation.
Yeah.
And once we saw that, we realized, okay, the steady state theory could not predict this, but it is in existence.
Correct.
So maybe when we take 2 parallel theories that they predict one of the same consequences, we take other consequences of both the theories,
Correct.
and we'd examine to see which one is actually in existence, and then we could take the theory whichever predicts the most number of correct consequences.
I think that's a great way of putting it. So I think that's one good part of science, right? If you do not agree with the majority, the majority of scientists, you could come out with your own theory. And if you're able to demonstrate it through experimental evidence, it's all right. You could be in the minority.
Yeah, but then
Because Darwin's theory was not accepted initially, or Galileo was not accepted initially. So the best part of science is we often have multiple theories which are accepted in parallel.
But don't we choose the theory which has like the most number of applications?
Point. Can I pick a theory which will help me in finding more applications? But then there's one question to be asked here. See, there are many theories which find applications only several years later. I'll give you an example. Boolean algebra. True and true is true. True and false is false. False and false is false. People thought it was just recreational. But today, it's all over. Computer science. Right? So that's one small issue with that, because it's very hard to quantify what theory has applications and what
It
theory
does not have a
doesn't. What if we have a theory which is predicting a few incidents well, but failing in few places? Do we dump it, or do we still keep it when we do not have alternatives?
See, that's why we keep those theories as references to build upon
You're talking of 2 theories. His question
Okay.
is, what if I have only one theory
one theory.
and that doesn't work everywhere?
well, then you can use that theory to make a new theory and then test out that new theory by using the old theory.
What if you haven't been able to do it so far?
Then we have to wait. See,
Yeah.
that's where time takes.
But do
its
you
toll,
dump
right?
it or you keep it?
We dump it because sometimes incorrect theories, they might accidentally give correct explanations, but correct theories never give incorrect predictions.
Never give incorrect predictions? Newton's theory was a correct theory once upon a time. And it predicted Venus or Mercury's path incorrectly, and that's when Einsteinian physics had to come out. But see, we could always have exceptions, right? Hold it, say this theory works only under these circumstances.
Yeah, in that way, scientific laws aren't really like mathematical laws. They have a range of validity.
Correct. They're within a context.
Yes.
And plus, that's where time takes its toll, right? Takes its toll.
Yeah.
We need to let time, unfold itself and show us what is the right thing.
Correct. Sometimes we need patience.
Patience.
Yeah.
I think we need scientific temper to be guided.
Okay.
Every single citizen needs to know what is the right way and what is the wrong way. I think
Okay.
having a scientific temper is a way of life where you imply logic,
Okay.
you imply reason, and then which is really practical. See, in the society there are many variables which tends to misguide you. So they
Can you give any examples of people, especially the poor people who are misguided?
So, like Modi has introduced this thing about currency.
Yeah.
So, what do you think people who are putting all their money, like those who don't have any bank account, storing them in the rice bags, storing them in the dal bags, what do? When the currency is changed, they don't even know how to go to a bank, they don't have an account. What might people think all my money that I have been earning all my life is going into vain.
So I have a question here.
Yeah.
If they have scientific temper, do you think they will be able to get the right information and be able to take the correct decisions in this context?
Scientific temper, like one part of scientific temper is the ability to be proactive in finding out what exactly is happening. It's trying to understand a process.
And
So,
how would you be proactive?
by being open-minded, what you do is you
Okay, you put your
go
biases
around.
away,
Yeah,
okay.
you go around. Then you ask people what exactly is going on, and then whatever you gather, you take it and then you analyze it.
So you mean to say they need to find out about what's happening, what are the options regarding the currency notes, what are my options, which is
Yeah.
my best option?
Yeah.
And they also need to support the government, because there's always a reason why the government does stuff.
Okay.
So by being proactive helps in the government, taking better
Yeah.
decisions for this country and
Okay.
making them.
Two more answers and I conclude. Yeah, go ahead.
They should also take risks because they don't know what's gonna actually happen in the future. So if they take risks, then something good could happen.
You take a risk on your life savings?
No, actually, I'm not going to say that.
If there
Yeah.
is if there is no way you can't do anything, you have to take a risk. If you have no
Okay, if
choice.
you're cornered, you have to take a risk.
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
Yes.
Any other comments on how such a person should go ahead? Yeah.
Like you said an example that if you had money and you have scientific temperament, you should actually take a paper and jot down how much money you have, what are the schemes introduced by the government, how government will help you to save, help you to exchange the money, and then you should consult an expert. Like there'll be an expert.
And would you believe
Then
in
I
the
think
expert?
probably he should not be considered as an
Yeah.
uneducated person, because education is experience, not something learning by books or something.
Okay, but we're
Yeah.
talking of education in the context of the formal system.
Okay.
Maybe he's not educated in a formal school, but at least he's informed about how to face situations.
Yeah.
As he's pointed, jot down your information,
Hmm.
ask questions to the experts. Don't believe in their inputs on face value, but ask them questions, understand, and then take informed decisions. I think that's a great way of putting. So maybe imbibing scientific temper is important for everybody because it helps you take
Informed decision.
informed decisions in crisis situations like this where there's confusion all over. I'm sure this discussion has been very exciting and it will continue to be exciting. So please do stay tuned while I have to go for a break.